Welcome to Gestalt for February 2023. Thank you all for being here today. I'm looking forward to our featured poet and our fellow poets today. We're blessed to have each other in the poetry community.
See if that helps.
That was great. I'm going to grab something really and put it in the chat.
Hey, Rebecca.
All right. Please visit my website and social media sites for news about Gestalt and more. amyhoskins.com, the writing section. YouTube is there. Also, new editions of collected poetry, 1985 to 2019, if you can believe that, and my novel, Rebecca's Closet. Thank you guys for your support. Those are both on Amazon there on my website. And then there's the YouTube, there's the Facebook. And then next month, our featured poet is David Lisa Robb. So that's on March 25th. So please stay tuned for more info on that. And here's just a couple of pieces of some poetry that I've been working on. I'll tell you more about it at the end, but here's some of it. Please come sit with me and just be. Tell me from the heart your story, what shaped your life up to now. Do justice, do kindness, be humble. It doesn't take money to create a sacred space that is safe and loving for all. My hope is that we create that space together today. And put that in the chat, and we'll do that. Which means Alexandra is first.
Oh, am I going before Bryan?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
If that's okay.
Yeah.
Wait.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great. My flying is my prayer. My flying is my soul's song. Mellifluous prayer, mellifluous flying. Striving to synthesize beautiful symphonies. Sometimes in a discordant labyrinth. Sometimes in a blissful cadence. Sometimes in clashing thunder without solidarity or resonating melody. Sometimes in harmonic raindrops like divine notes, quenching our hearts' thirst. Connecting, rising into a new cycle of incarnation. My flying is my ode. My flying is my soul's lyrics. Pioneering ode, pioneering flying. Pollinating my thoughts with a nectar of imagination. Sometimes in dignified humility. Sometimes in illuminating speech. Sometimes in the remaining few upholding their ideas, albeit unprotected and betrayed. Sometimes in a united consciousness, bursting into a grid of light, inspiring, rising into a thrilling creation. My flying is my dance. My flying is my soul swirling, orbiting dance, orbiting flying, coalescing, protecting from dark entities, sometimes in merciless defeat, sometimes in rays of jubilation, sometimes in the crashing sea waves, battering and victimizing with mortal selfishness, sometimes in the lapping sea waves, smoothing over the roughness, releasing our sweetness, initiating, rising into a rewarding metamorphosis. My flying is my apocalypse. My flying is my soul's ambrosia. Deifying apocalypse, deifying flying. Freeing, joining my spirit with skies of art. Sometimes in expressionless disillusion. Sometimes in mystic truth. Sometimes in the dark cave, the gravity of darkness weighing us down. Sometimes in the golden dawn, a phoenix soaring, never touching ground. Outshining, rising into rejuvenating catharsis. Our flying is our utopia. Our flying is our heaven on earth. Crystalline utopia, crystalline flying. Thank you.
That was so amazing, so lyrically beautiful, breathtaking, and inspiring. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gosh, wow. Thank you. Right where to start. And now we have Jaime Torres.
Hi, I'm here.
Hi,
Hi, could I go right after the next person, please?
you sure can.
Thank you.
Find the next person for a sec. Is Doc Janning here? Doc Janning, no. Lucia Daramus? Did I
Yes,
say correctly?
yes, I'm here.
Oh, good. Would you like to go next?
Yes, will be fine.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Yes, my poem is Take Me Away by Lucia Daramus. Mud, black cold mud, and rain with bullets, and tongues near a head of a baby with smell of milk on his baby skin, a face, two faces, behind of a broken window, and glasses, smashed glasses around the children, soldiers with guns in their hands, hiding in this deconstructive house, attacking, Russian, a Russian against a Ukrainian, in Ukraine, Ukrainian soul, Ukrainian house, and children between them, with their face, two faces, and a baby. The Russian soldier fired the bullet in wall and then straight in baby's head. Tick tock, time is silent. Part of them is dead. What is happening of them? They have no more strength. Only few emotions scratching the three spiders' wombs on their souls, now empty souls. Part of Ukrainian souls dead, darkness, and smell of baby skin, flying in the unexisted birth in death, mud, blood cold mud, black and rain with bullets, one day, dances and brotherly love's heart, a perfect storm of war, and our children of our world, the children of war, they are chanting, they are lamenting, they are crying, they are, where are you, humanity? Where are you? Take me away, said the child. Take me away. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was amazing. I don't even know where to start. That was just so moving and gripping and real and human. Thank you. Thank you so much. Jaime, would you like to go now?
Yes, I'm ready. Thank you.
Cool, thanks.
All right, this is called Two Grains as Sand. They, the forebearers, had persist, and here now we exist. Choices both sensible and with flaw, times of laughter and distress, actions fruitful and laggardly, even those done haphazardly. Still, I acknowledge you're now among us. That arc of time as story, that arc of time at this time, as ourselves, as we have, as we must, as our story. Another day and you have grown, another day, week, month, and you have grown, another month, season, year, and you have grown. What that year, month, and day holds stories in the tapestry of time it is shown. Time like the tide upon the beach, all with stories painted on sand, and the crush of the rolling tide, the sound of time. You and I speak and you listen. You speak and I listen. 2 grains as sand on the canvas of the beach. 2 grains as sand on the canvas of the beach. And there we meet. Side by side, 2 grains of sand, we do here stand. The in and exhale of the sea. There on the beach, our story recedes. Thank you.
That was brilliant. Thank you. Just so loving and gentle. And I love the imagery of the canvas of the sand. And it was beautiful. I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Next, we have Eike Waltz. Yay.
Hi.
Hi.
Well, this Ukrainian piece was very, very touching, and it should really have a moment of silence afterwards to really grasp, especially, I have to admit, I grew up during wartime too as a child. I was a typical European war child, and I can tell you many, many stories as a child, but not for now. For something more about what formed my life. Music had and has a primary effect on my life. And I mean all types and genres of music. So let me share 2 of my many stories how music became my intimate companion. The Piano Concerto No. 2 by Dmitri Shostakovich. When the father composed such beauty in my lifetime, when the son conducted his father's creation with such confidence in my lifetime, when the grandson played the Piano Concerto No. 2 composed by his grandfather with such passion, and that in my lifetime, when I had danced in Berlin in a brilliant choreography to the Piano Concerto No. 2, the opening allegro, so much power, the andante, ever so romantic, ending in a cascading allegro, whirlpool into my turbulent mind. A dream came true during my lifetime. I always wanted to be an integral part of the sound, which I found by resting in the shadow under the piano, drinking every note until I am high of that Shostakovich sound. What a lifetime. What a life. And I can still remember, and I do and will tell you how incredible, beautiful music attached to life can be. And living it all again by listening at home to my treasured CD, to my copy of the Piano Concerto No. 2 by Dmitri, my forever search for timeless beauty, and that all drenched in music forever during my so limited lifetime, my to be or our not to see. The second one, walk on by. I lost my tears. I cannot wipe my sorrow anymore away. Anymore that passed so long ago, so far away. I lost my weeping, my words now harsh and dry. I even forgot what to find and how to lie. Nothing compares. What is there to say? Ever since I missed you yesterday, romancing tears so long ago, so far away. The sun now flat, the night rhymes only with a now so very obvious. Yes, I am sad. My bed like a stone, roses now paper dry. The sound remains reminding of your long gone sigh. How incredible edible was your kiss. thinking of you, that voice that touched such depth in me. Your kiss, our lips, I do forever miss. Yes, there was Hale Davis, there was Carol Bear Sager, and there was Burt Bacharach. Rest in peace. But I walk on by. Your tears bonded with my pounding heart. Dionne Warwick, yes, you were all but mine. It was your femininity, your magic, your beauty, so sublime, that made me, for the first time in happiness, cry. Thank you.
Wow, that was beautiful, both of those. The relationship to music and the relationship in the second poem, just so, so beautiful. Thank you. Like a concerto itself. Thank you. Now we have Katie Thompson.
Hey. Sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
It's like really echoey here. Hold on. I'm going to go in another hallway.
All right.
Sorry. I have been living in a hotel for the last 2.5 months. All right. And let me get something to read here. I apologize, everyone. Okay, I'm going to read The Rubber Ball. The rubber ball is bouncing to and fro, like me, like you, like us, like our life. It is bouncing so fast I can barely perceive the minute changes in trajectory. Meanwhile, outside my window, the fall is coming. Shadows are getting longer and longer. Leaves are starting to turn, bright and dull, together, the interface of life and death. The rubber ball is faint in the background, bouncing off the garage wall, where my daughter is playing. Even somehow this ball is losing ever so slight amounts of air. With each slap against the concrete, the push of the air and the interface between the rubber and the wall, synchronicity and right on time, making me think of the conditions in the fall air that cause the leaves to descend. In the peculiar patterns. I, the observer of all these things, me, us, this moment still I am thinking. I feel more like that rubber ball bouncing so fast, changing in ways no one knows. But still, I am the observer, no matter how I feel. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Also brilliant. Appreciate your time.
You.
Thank you.
All right, let's see.
I love synchronicity too. I misspelled it in the chat.
Thank you very much, everyone.
You're so welcome. Thank you. Is James Floyd here? All right, we've got KHAOS in the house. Welcome, KHAOS. There you are.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right.
Oh, a little closer, a little closer.
I'd like to do this piece. It's called Saturday.
There we go.
It's Saturday, and I awake. I'm free from all the stress that Monday through Friday may bring. It's almost like spring. The rains are gone. The days are so warm. Enter, sun. Bring back to me that loving feeling. It's Saturday. She awakes, smiling, stretching, so attractively trimmed. Speak to me, O vision of loveliness. Why did you choose me over all of them? It's Saturday. They awake, running, laughing, squealing, 2 miniature containers of energy. They beg me to be included in their play, making me love the fact it's Saturday. Thank you. My name is KHAOS.
Thank you. I love that poem. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, KHAOS.
General.
So good to see you. Please stay. That was awesome. Now we have Jeff Cottrill.
Okay, so this one's a relatively new one I don't think I've done here yet. It's called You're Immature. You're immature. You're so immature, Jeff. Everybody thinks you're immature, and I'll tell you why. Mature people don't live in apartments, Jeff. Mature people don't rent. You know what mature people do? Mature people buy houses. Mature people secure mortgages so they can own their own houses someday. And then mature people spend their time taking care of their houses. Mature people get married while they're young, and then they buy big houses in which to raise their families. Mature people buy houses with backyards and gardens, and then they spend their weekends taking care of their backyards and gardens to make a good impression on their neighbors. That's what mature people do. You don't, so you're immature. Mature people don't ride public transit, Jeff. That's so immature. Mature people don't walk or ride bicycles everywhere the way children do. You know what mature people do? Mature people own cars. Mature people buy cars, and they also buy car insurance every 6 months. Mature people own cars big enough to fit their whole families. Mature people drive cars everywhere, even to places close by. Mature people keep close tabs on the price of gasoline at every local gas station, and they reminisce out loud about how much cheaper it used to be. Mature people complain about how pedestrians and bikes and buses always block traffic. That's what mature people do, Jeff. You're immature. Mature people don't have conversations about pop culture, Jeff. Mature people don't talk about what's new in movies or music or TV or the internet. Mature people don't care at all about famous entertainers, not even the talented ones. You know what mature people talk about? Mature people talk about local politics. Mature people rant about their local elected leaders and all the things they're doing wrong. Mature people talk about budgets and government spending and economic policy and interest rates and immigration and housing and wages and, more than anything else, taxes. Mature people obsess over taxes, Jeff. Mature people devote as much of their spare time as they can to determine how to pay as little tax as possible, and they mock politicians who want to tax them more. That's what mature people do. You're immature. Mature people don't read books by John Irving, Jeff. Mature people don't read Kurt Vonnegut or Terry Pratchett or Mark Twain or Arthur Miller or George Orwell or Charles Dickens. Those are immature writers for immature minds. You know what mature people read? Mature people read Hemingway. Mature people read Faulkner and Raymond Carver and Michael Ondaatje and Joy Kagawa and Jane Urquhart and M.T. Kelly and Tobias Wolff and Jose Saramago, Jeff. And mature people don't write poetry for fun. Mature people write poetry to get government grants and to make awards shortlists. And mature people don't watch comedy to laugh. Why would anybody even think of watching comedy to laugh? That's so childish. No, mature people watch comedy to validate their political and social ideologies. Mature people watch comedy to applaud when the comedian says something they agree with. You don't, so you're immature. And mature people don't play board games, Jeff. Only socially awkward kids with acne and peanut allergies play board games. Nobody mature does that. You know what mature people do? Mature people watch sports. Mature people sit and drink beer and eat chips and watch sports games on TV. Mature people go out to live sports games and drink beer and eat hot dogs and yell abuse at the home team players when they don't win. Mature people make their children play sports, and then they go out to their kids' sports games and yell abuse at the opposing team and pick fights with other kids' parents. Mature people track and even memorize sports statistics. Mature people talk about pro athletes as if they were personal friends or family members. That's what mature people do. You're immature. Oh, and by the way, mature people drink coffee. You don't, so you're immature. That's what mature people do, Jeff. I hope you've been listening carefully so that one day maybe you'll grow the hell up and be as mature as I am. Thank you. You're immature.
Thank you. That was brilliant. That was so funny. I was just all over the place. That was so good. And it is such a consumer loop that people are trapped in with all these finance deals and things going on with cars and houses and sports and things. And thank you. That was really good.
There's a link to buy his book in the chat right now.
Oh,
Yes.
good. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Generalissimo. And I will put other links because it's also available at Barnes & Noble.
Thank you. Is Tessa Matiela here? Tessa?
Yes.
Hi.
Hey.
Good to see you.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and put this right here. Okay. All right. Hopefully that's okay. Sometimes a poem. Okay. Sometimes a poem is just there waiting to be written. If you're quiet and listen, it's there. You can hear it. It's the earth speaking. It's the wind blowing and the sound of objects being moved by it outside in the yard. Maybe it's the wind loving each of us as it does the trees, blowing through their branches, breathing on us, moving us to be and to love and to be loved. Look at the trees. They wave, sway, and nod, being nudged by the wind. The wind nudges me, and it nudges you. It nudges us. Sometimes a poem says, look at the sun. See how it seems to shine brighter on the leaves now? Saying, love one another in the earth. See how some of the smaller trees and shrubs and bushes dance in the wind? Not love and be loved, they seem to nod. The water in the clear pool ripples in the wind and sparkles in the sunlight. Sometimes a poem is a beautifully descriptive sentence that brightens your day with its simple presence in your mind, taking up space so you can return again and again to relax and remember. A friendly, truthful, reliable lover. Sometimes a poem is a whole book of inked words on a paper page, not an electronic plastic cold machine, but an organic, once living, touchable, holdable, warm being. Sometimes a poem.
Thank you so much. Oh my gosh. That was so beautiful. Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
love your imagery and the movement of the poem. Now, James Floyd, are you ready? I know you just came in. You want to go in a little bit? All right, let's give him a little time. Is Deborah Burris-Kitchen here?
Yes,
Yeah,
I
there
am.
you are. Hi.
Hi. This one is titled August 7th, 1960. My mom gave birth to me while my father stood at the pulpit preaching the parable of the divided kingdom, Matthew 12, 24 through 30. I was born in a rural area outside of Indianapolis, a town with one stop sign, and smelled of fertilized feed corn, far removed from the civil unrest of our nation's South. In the 1960s, blacks marched carrying signs saying, "We all bleed one color." And if you are tired of hearing about racism, imagine how tired people are of experiencing it. Blacks oppose segregation and the denial of their fundamental human rights, only to be hosed, bitten by attack dogs, beaten, lynched, and shot in the back by the KKK and the police. Often the men in blue and those wearing white hoods shared the same last names. Once assaulted over and over while nonviolently protesting, blacks were pushed into combat to defend themselves from the dogs being unleashed on them and ripping their flesh with each bite, from being beaten to death by clubs at the hands of the police, by being hosed by firefighters and left for dead on the street. From the north to the south and the east to the west, buildings set on fire made it hard to tell if it was day or night. From New York to LA, Birmingham to Chicago, children were blown into pieces as churches were bombed. Leaders who supported equality and justice for all were assassinated, and the children and organizers of the opposition who died are now viewed as heroes and saints. I remember my father's prayers on Sunday mornings for peace. I remember watching the tears roll down his cheeks as the radio announced the death of the 4 young Black girls as a result of the 16th Street Baptist Church bombing, and the announcements of the assassinations of Evers, JFK, Malcolm, Hampton, and King. Barely in double digits years of my life during the 1960s, and 50 years have passed since. Memories of violence are distant and not too clear, but I do remember watching the violent beatings of Blacks by men dressed in military fatigues and police uniforms on a tiny black and white TV. People demanded equal protection, voting, and civil rights. Blacks marched, sat at lunch counters for whites only, and sang, "We shall overcome," only to get beaten down with nightsticks and tear gas. Many Blacks bled out and died too soon. Black militants were shot by white men filled with hate, fear, and anger, demonstrating no moral compass or any sign of empathy or compassion. History shows us that with bravery and painstaking intent, we can overcome oppression and hate. Let's get those signs back out. Keep taking that knee. It is not too late. The 1960s obligated us to enter the battle to protect our democracy and human rights, and think critically about our history of animosity based on race. We still live in a world with too much bloodshed based on the color of one's skin. Ask the mothers of Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, Tyre Nichols what they think. I could list the other 225 Blacks killed by police in 2022, but what good would that do? It can't bring these beautiful souls back to us, so what's the use? But let us never forget them, nor alter or bury their truth. We elected a Black man to serve 2 terms in our White House, yet still being stopped for a minor traffic violation when you're Black justifies the police shooting you in the back, beating you to death, or forcing their entire body weight with their knee to your neck while you cry, "I can't breathe." Call out for your mother or plead, "Please don't shoot me." Resistance to power comes with the smell of Black death and white blood-stained hands. Many mothers pray for their Black sons and daughters they had to lay to rest too soon, while others are silently dying from a heart that was wrenched out of their chest as they heard the news about their child's senseless and untimely death. Picking up an article of their child's clothing and hailing one last smell to remind them, even God can't protect their Black children from this country's over 400 years of white sin. I pray daily for mothers who had to bury their children's mutilated bodies. I pray for young Black men and women who walk while Black or drive while Black. I pray they don't have a chance encounter with a white whose reaction to their fear and loathing of Black men or Black women is to beat them until they breathe their last breath, taser them until their heart stops, or put a bullet to their head. Please, Lord, don't let them kill another young brother or sister today. Although I don't remember much of the 60s, revolution, like the raging water in the river that rushes to feed the sea, runs through my veins like it is still the 1960s. And I also had a book come out in January. It's titled Exposed, and I'll put the link to my webpage where you can get the book as soon as this is over, or after I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. I remember the 60s too. I was born in 64, so a lot of that was really vivid, and I understand, and there's so much work left to do, and I write about that too. So I appreciate you bringing the history. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. James Floyd, are you ready to go? And are you still with us? There you are. I know you just got here.
I am, yeah.
Okay, cool.
To cut out before the reading is over. I have some company coming from out of town. But I'll do a couple. I have a couple of poems. I want to thank you for letting me be a part of this.
Thank you.
Okay. The first poem I'm going to do is titled Devil's Creed. That's the creed that That's a creed that a devil will take. Okay. I have no shame for the rivers of blood I have shed. I respect only power. I deify the evil dead by honoring slaveholders and Indian killers, naming holidays for treaty breakers and fork-tongued wheeler dealers. There's no need for me to justify the things I do. My truth is a lie, so my lies are true. I glut the natural resources of third world nations. I invented terror, genocide as tools of public relations. I create radioactive filth, spread pestilence, disease. At the moment, I'm in the process of ridding rainforest of their trees. I have weapons of mass destruction to create the proper atmosphere. I make stress the norm, because that's why I'm here. I am the master of deceit, greed, and lust. If I am victorious, I will dance and piss on the dust. Okay, that's Devil's Creed. The next one, I'm going to give you the title after a brief introduction to the poem, a brief preface to the poem. I want to write a true love story, but I don't know when it started, so I don't know where to begin. I want to speak of feelings reaching into outer space, going past infinity with no end. Should I try to tell this tale, I know that I would surely fail, for this saga is still being told. And these man's, woman's, rocks, trees, so. Yet, try I must tell the story of higher stirrings and human love. The title is God and God, Invisibility Incorporated. God uppercase, God lowercase. Milton Pryor was a wino with 20 years experience in invisibility, except for those brief moments when he would materialize to bum bus fare to the nearest cheap white port. He lied, begged, stole, and sometimes he did odd jobs. He cooked his liver. He suffered the weight of the world, invisible. He staggered down the street, invisible. He sat on a bench at the bus stop, invisible. He lay under a tree in the park, weeping softly, invisible. He slept in the meadow with the flowers. And during those Elysium nocturnal hours, along with the flowers, he was blessed by starry nights and baptized in sweet holy dew. Mornings, as harsh dimensions of another day sent him along his way, invisible he would say, amazed in grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. No one heard, though he brushed many a shoulder in the crowd of faces looking up for God, through which he moved invisible. One winter night, drunk, he fell and struck his head a fatal blow on a rock. And as he lay there, arms straight out, legs stiffly before him, his body made a cross in the snow. And as the snow drank of his final scarlet sacrament, he said, Father, forgive them, and gave up the ghost. God heard, God saw, God loves, even old winos like you, Milton Pryor. Amen. We have dramatized this poem. If you will Google my channel on YouTube and type in God and God Invisibility Incorporated, you will see that poem dramatized. The guy who played Milton Pryor is deceased now, but when we shot that video, he had been homeless prior to a couple of weeks of the shooting of that video, and all of the winos and street people you see in the video is real. They really are. I was able to do that because a few years prior to that, I was one of them, and I knew them all. And so they agreed to do this. Thank you, Amy. Thank you so much.
Oh my gosh, thank you. That was so powerful, moving, brilliant, beyond words, so well crafted. The rhyme, everything. Wonderfully done. Thank you. Great storyteller. Thank you. And now, Generalissimo, would you like to go?
Sure, I'll go.
Do you want me to
First, I want to
introduce
say
you?
to both Deborah and Mr. Floyd, both of your poems were just spectacular and wonderful and touching. And so thank you very much for both of you. So I'm just going to go straight to get through this. The first poem was just accepted for publication in the National Beat Poetry Foundation's Natural Words Anthology, which will come out in April. It's called We Are Weed Whackers. When a weed grows through a crack in pavement, it gets labeled disruptor. It will be evicted from sidewalk, driveway, or road, weed whacked. It will be yanked out or sprayed with a chemical not so good for the environment or human respiratory systems. Sometimes these invaders of hard surfaces are executed with ultra skinny flamethrowers, future flowers devoured by man-made firestorms. Sometimes amongst the gray and black urban landscape, a daisy will peekaboo through a crack in the sidewalk, announcing that sidewalk cracks don't break mama's backs. If we went back in time before there was a sidewalk or street, there might have been a forest of trees or field of wildflowers before all the humans came along and said, this looks like a nice spot for a house. Then came another house and another and another, and horses and carriages and cars and paved roads and neighborhoods with sidewalks where people feel it necessary to torch innocent daisies from gray concrete. But before all the man-made existed, the daisies existed in harmony with other flowers and trees and birds and squirrels, and the humans that happened along were the true disruptors. And this poem will be published in the Love in its Original Language anthology by the Moonstone Arts Center in Philadelphia. It's called Why I'm Addicted to Merlot Flavored Chapstick. When we kiss, my heart beats a little faster. When we kiss, my heart tries to escape my body. It screams at me to let it out of jail. It tries to stick a finger through the bars and poke a hole through my chest. It runs makeshift drumsticks along the bars to its cell to sound like steel drums and starts singing red, red wine, because your kisses are like a nice Merlot in which I taste notes of vanilla, blackberries, and nutmeg, and hold in my mouth a little longer than usual because its rich, sanguine texture requires me to savor it. And after I swallow that first sip, I touch the tip of my tongue to my lips so I don't lose the flavor. Your kisses are a glass of wine that will eventually find itself empty, and I am besotted. I am besotted and bewitched when you finish a kiss by biting my lips, my lower lip. I always secretly tuck my lips inside my mouth after we kiss to savor your kisses. You have told me how you can't stand when I start singing red, red wine out of the blue. But how do I tell you that my besotted heart desires a kiss? And I am besotted and swept off my feet when you always smile after we kiss. This next poem is a new poem, and it's called Before. It's for Rita Rusty Rose and everyone else inside the Stonewall Inn when it was raided by the NYPD on June 28, 1969. The Shangri-La sang, "Give him a great big kiss" on the jukebox before it happened. It was a hot, humid evening. Judy had passed 6 days prior. She was one of the original allies decades before allies was used for our purpose. Dorothy was the ultimate lost soul in a surreal, hopeful tale. We all hoped for a world where windows didn't have to be blacked out in our bars. We all hoped we didn't have to hide our true selves in public or at work. None of us believed it was possible. There was always a chance the cops might raid our spaces and print our names in the papers. It was a hot, humid evening. The subway was crowded. I climbed the steep mountainous stairs from underground, walked up Christopher Street, told the bouncer at the door the password, and entered. I sat at the bar. The beer was cold. I felt relief as it cooled my throat. I was in a place that was filled with people like me. Dare I use the word family? It was as safe as a space could be decades before someone would say the words safe space. Patrons danced and smiled and flirted just like any other bar. Then it happened. This is another new poem. It's called A Treatise on the Edibility of Onion Skins. I don't recognize who I see in the mirror. It's not the unkempt beard or the baggage under my eyes. It's the onion trapped inside my soul, unable to peel away its inedible outer layers. Because my heart has been broken so many times, its skin is made of several haphazardly wrapped layers of duct tape, frayed edges attracting bodily detritus like a lint trap in a dryer, encased in mistakes and wrong decisions, furthering its inaccessibility, creating an impenetrable layer to love and happiness that can't be breached via sad love songs or tearjerkers or ear nibbles or slow-moving fingertips. There is no Prince Charming capable of kissing away history. Munitions experts would be wasting their time with dynamite. Superman might go blind if he tried to melt it with his stare. I am resigned to accept my permanently damaged heart still beating and trying to find ways to find love despite all the duct tape and detritus that might only exist in my mind. Trying to comprehend the physics of tears. Why do some tears feel so hot they could cut a rut down my cheek as a path for future tears? While some tears feel as if they broke off an Arctic ice floe into the Atlantic waiting to sink the Titanic. Why do my eyes decide to boil saline or keep inventory in ice cube trays? How do the powers that be decide what life events warrant what temperatures? I understand why I cry, but I don't understand why sometimes tears drop from only one eye, or why tears sometimes pour down in torrents, but sometimes trickle like maple sap on a late February day. I can't comprehend the physics of crying. Sometimes I cry for no reason at all because I have a disease called depression. Sometimes the littlest thing will set me off. Maybe a memory gets triggered about my deceased mother or father, or my friend Beth who passed from cancer. It can be a song, or line in a movie, or Madras hat, or potato soup, or Labrador retriever. Sometimes I feel I am a slave to my tears. I wonder if I sometimes cry, hoping a tear will track down my cheek to the edge of my lips, so I can taste saline, so I can taste sadness, so I can taste hurt, so I can taste anger, so I can taste heartbreak that causes the substance to secrete from my emotions. Why do I feel compelled to tell anyone who bears witness to my crying that it's just allergies, when crying is an essential mental health physiological response? Crying is not a sign of fragility, but an indication of fortitude. It's how our bodies shed dead bark that exists on trees that inhabit our souls. Yet when I cry in the presence of others, I tend to turn away when what I need most is a validating smile or hug or patronizing shoulder squeeze. Tears are a gift from God. Tears are a gift to our lips and the tips of our tongues. Tears are a gift to our skin. Sometimes after a good cry, my face feels like it feels after I dunk my head in the ocean, when my skin breathes because my soul is breathing. The next time you want to stop yourself from crying, don't. Learn to celebrate your tears. They're hard to celebrate when they're happening. As Yiddish theater legend Ishkevibel Shipowitz once said, the reason the sun can shine bright during a thunderstorm is the same reason a good cry is best followed by a quick, impromptu laugh. And this next poem was published in Anecdote Literary Magazine and was nominated for a Best of the Net award. A Random Act. It was a cold, drizzly December Maine afternoon, not cold enough for snow, not a strong enough rain to call it real rain. It had snowed an inch or 3 that morning, not enough to take out a shovel, easy enough to drive through, the type of snow that gets melted away by a couple or 4 hours of rain. I drove the 45-minute weekly road trip to wait in line about 15 minutes to enter Trader Joe's and exited with 2 bags. I rolled my cart 2 parking lot aisles over to the cart receptacle, and while walking back to my car, I saw a woman holding several bouquets of flower, carefully placing cellophane wrapped packages, stem end down under windshield wipers. I asked her what she was doing. She said, on a day like today, she thought people wouldn't mind getting flowers from a stranger. She extended her right arm toward me and offered me a bouquet. I hesitated to accept, but accepted. I suddenly felt flattered and thanked her. She smiled and responded, just a random act of kindness. I got in my car and inspected the carnations and chrysanthemums that looked like they were painted with melted Skittles. I began to giggle. I felt a few warm tears roll down my cheek. I reached around to the pocket in the back of my seat, grabbed a roll of paper towels and tore one off to use as a Kleenex. I wiped my tears and blew my nose and started laughing again. I heard my mother's spirit tell me that crying when happy is genetic. Suddenly, I could feel my father's arm stretched across my shoulders, giving me a gentle pat. My Uncle Sam was offering me a slice of gooseberry pie for breakfast and a shot of after-dinner aquavit. My Aunt Lila was explaining to me that Velveeta was the secret to a good pot of cheese grits. I think she would have approved of my version with Asiago coconut milk, curry leaf lime zest, and white pepper. My Aunt Charlotte was tightly hugging me, acknowledging that her secret depression wasn't something I had to keep secret. My Uncle Ralph offered me an ice-cold Fresca and told me he was no longer afraid to converse with his teenage nephew he thought might be gay. My friend of over 21 years, Beth, wasn't telling me that she had decided to discontinue chemotherapy, but instead was making her famous potato soup, while her giant yellow Labrador Ebenezer was asking me to rub his belly. This random act of kindness flooded my heart with sunshine. The sun was refusing me that cold, drizzly December Maine afternoon. This random act of kindness allowed me to feel a little less pandemic isolation sad, a little less afraid, and a little less alone. And this was published in Spilling Cocoa over at Martin Amis, a British humor journal, and was also nominated for a Best of the Net. The Queen's Secret Siberian Sisters. Queen Elizabeth of England was recently sold for $75. She was dressed in a conservatively tasteful Savile Row, hand-tailored off-white dress accented by a blue sash, her signature heirloom pearls, and a jeweled crown. I wonder if whoever bought her placed her in the center of a mantel to the left of a set of unnested Russian nesting dolls lined up from small to large at the end of the mantel, and to the right of Aunt Gladys's pride and joy collection of ceramic roosters no one wanted but is now a point of pride in the owner's home. In the middle of the night, when all the tchotchkes come to life, a la Night at the Museum, the nesting dolls try to teach Liz how to dance. They humor her every night when she can't get it quite right. Liz doesn't mind when one of her instructor babushkas asks to try on her pearls or crown because they treat her like a normal person, not an overprivileged royal. When they invade the vodka and liquor cabinet, the sturdy Siberian women are surprised the queen can drink them under the table. Liz's new claim to fame is that she has trained all the roosters to perform tricks as if they were her corgis. The Russian gals tease Liz that one day they'll make soup from the roosters, but then they say, "We never eat because we are hollow Weibo-shaped balsa wood street souvenirs, and you are but a Barbie doll." And this was also published in Spilling Cocoa. It's called What We Don't Know the Cows Know About Us. I slept so erratically, I pulled the bottom right-hand corner off the contour sheet from the bed. It was a cold enough morning for me to spend an extra 2 or 3 minutes soaking in the hot of the shower. I dried off, dressed, took my morning pills, ate a banana, and grabbed a hot cup of tea. I drove to the Saturday farmer's market, No one was there because it was Monday. There were 3 cows in the field across the road. They weren't looking at me, but I knew they were looking at me when I wasn't looking at them, aware of the mistake I had made, telling one another, look, another human who forgot what day it was. How to get away with public nudity. When I read my poetry, I empty myself of me. I'm not pretending to be someone else. I'm not exactly stepping out of myself. Maybe I'm stripping bare without removing any clothing. Maybe the clothes I choose to wear are a costume I use to hide in plain sight. Maybe the words I commit to page and extol through voice are my version of streaking across the 50-yard line while Lady Gaga sings the Star-Spangled Banner at the Super Bowl. When I empty myself of me, when I read my poetry, it's like tossing a deck of cards in the air and hoping the jokers land face up. Every day I wake up is a wild card that tries to learn its way out of being wild. When I empty myself of me, when I read my poetry, every time I play 52 pickup, I pick up the cards, put them back in the box, return to living life, and because I am a poet, I get to empty myself of me every time I write a new poem, if I choose. And finally, I'll just read the first page in my book, Everything I Think and All in My Mind, is a set of 6 haikus. I'll just read them. 1, the meaning of life is not about breathing, but deciding to breathe. 2, cynicism is an acquired attitude. No one is born that way. 3, optimism is more than just an idea. It can be a mantra. 4, embrace your crazy. Who you are is who you are. You are human. 5, figurative life best for sale. When it rains and rains, my mind sends me to places perfect for drowning. And 6, the worms can't do all the work. Teach a man to fish, and he might not have patience to wait for a fish. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much, Amy. I always love Gestalt, and I don't make it here enough, but I'm really trying. And thank you, everyone who showed up. And I'm looking forward to the rest of the poets, and thank you all the poets who read before me as well, which were unbelievably excellent. So thanks.
Thank you. That was so powerful and hilarious and detailed and moving. Great imagery. Wonderful set. Wonderful set.
Gracias.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was awesome. I'm lost over here. And McKenzie.
Hi, Amy. Thank you, Generalissimo. It's always enlightening listening to you opening up, whether you're streaking across the playing field or not. Wonderful. I've just got 2 poems, if that's okay. Amy, okay. This first one's called Trapped in the Lost and Found. In my life, I've often found opportunities to get lost, drifting off into vague daydreams of a nomadic mind, or in the real world, to wander off, oblivious to any sense of direction. Like in Chiang Rai, adrift in a maze of winding lanes, stumbling on the Melt in Your Mouth cafe, witnessing a lady talking to Buddha, and again in Bangkok, searching for the golden Buddha temple, hemmed in by the narrow heights of bustling alleyways in Chinatown, discovering those dusty tenements hidden away from view, where artisans craft the gewgaws and souvenirs to ply the spendthrift tourists jamming the stalls. Or in childhood, lost in games of hide and seek, hiding from myself, seeking a way out of the entrapment of dysfunctional family life. Me, the square peg in a conventional round hole that I was expected to fit into, society's way of enforcing conformity, or to be cast out to navigate your way alone. In each and every case, I seem to find my way back in, or at least to discover some form of compromise. And so I continued to turn up like any self-respecting bad penny or prodigal son, always seeming to be most comfortable living in the perennial go-round of a topsy-turvy carousel trapped inside the lost and found. Thanks. And this one's a short one. It's a sonnet called Winter Moonshine. In this bleak sky, a ragged hole opens through blustery clouds, darkened by night's shadow, the air shaken by winds blowing from the east, and through the dark, a moonglow eye appears, looking down on me, a haloed shimmer of ghostly sunlight, a golden glimmer that peers out from this heavenly orifice, a death mask wearing winter's frozen face. And looking up to meet its hollow gaze, seeing how ephemeral the moon now looks, bathed in icy yellow, covered by a skein of freezing night, too far away to touch, my mind pulsates like a throbbing vein, and all my wild imaginings ablaze. Thanks.
Wow, I didn't unmute, I just clapped. That was amazing. Oh my gosh, I love the way you weave words. And I love your imagery. Amazing, thank you. Is Zomkhonto here? He may be here at the end. Okay. Mary Lou Napik. Kate Jenkinson also said she might not be able to be here. Lantern
here.
Carrier. Oh, you're here, Kate. Yay.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
No, I was just quietly listening. It was lovely.
Okay.
So, thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Okay, so I don't know if this has got a title. It hasn't. When I don't have something that you do, you describe this as a lack. But the lack is really in perspective. Thinking is not white on black or black on white. Neither of these ways is wrong or right. Why not think about what I have instead? I have music in my head. I have metaphors in abundance and space to juggle letters so they can land whichever way is weighted heaviest at this time. I hear emotions in voices, not distracted by visions of my own making. I'm open to choices, not my own making. I don't have to see it to believe it. My feelings are amplified instead. I sense the strength of feeling in my head like pressure waves from the sounds you make. I'm sure you could measure this if you wanted to, but you're too distracted by what I lack and think how what I don't have affects you. I am literal and imaginative. Divergent thinking is the way my brain is wired, not fired by imagery. I'm not distracted but by what I see because I'm blind. Being blind opens my ears, opens my heart to my fears, and I've managed to make my way regardless. So there's something much more in this than lack. Suddenly I realize you've been judging me on your unseen imagery. Wow, that's a belly blow. I'm winded by the revelation that I can never satisfy your unseen needs to me unless I falsify my expression. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was awesome. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you. Zomkhonto, I know you just got here. Would you like to go next?
Okay, that's
You
fine.
want some time? You want some time?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Hello, everyone. Sorry for the late entry. Let me pull up the poem that I'm going to do for you. Is entitled "You Are a Complex Machine." Remember the next time that you break down that you are a complex machine, and that the tools that it takes to put you back together again are not made of metal, but soft things that do not weigh much on the scales used by this world to measure our worth. We are boundless, weightless, and your birth was a magical musical note to complete the rhythm of all creation, because you are a complex machine. So breaking down is necessary because we are made of delicate breaths, held together with the silken ropes of extremely fragile heartbeats, each trying to connect to the next with as little heavy breathing as possible, not struggling for air, but fumbling for a strength that holds together our bodies just long enough to exhale, because we have a lifelong contract with the trees. A promise that these lungs, although not made of bark, the branches that hold them in place in our chests will suck in each morsel of oxygen and help us proclaim at the top of those same lungs that we are here voluntarily, that we are not forcing this living thing, that we did not arrive in this world kicking and screaming, but that it was the world itself that started yelling in our faces in a language that we couldn't recognize. That in our several attempts to find meaning, life was throwing stones at our engines. And since we are not grindstone machines, we broke down. But those same stones that the world threw at us over time, we used them to build the mountains you see in front of you right now. Because rather than be buried underneath them, we built ourselves a fortress, erected rock statues of ourselves instead of become stone-hearted, because we are complex machines. There are parts of us that cannot be replaced. The mechanics of our being needs more than an oil change. We repair our brokenness by making poems out of ourselves, wind chimes that dance from the raging feet of our resilient theme songs. We are complex machines, far from artificial intelligence. We are complex machines, far from the mating crowd. Thank you.
That was stellar. That was so amazing. I'm just beyond words. The energy, the magic, it's all there. Thank you so much. That was awesome. Lantern Carrier, are you ready?
Busy writing. Yeah, I'm done.
Oh, no worries. Thank you.
Yeah, what shall I do? Okay, should I do Maya? No, I think I'll do that one. I was spun in a red wheel of endless dots, my dots of peace fragmented, leaving me isolated from happiness. Lost in despair, my hope was almost cancelled by the emptiness within. I was a broken vessel, unable to find or offer empathy, having forgotten that your fountain of love is imperative. I pranced around the fire of your radiance like wild beasts afraid of the light, afraid to enter the wine of thy sweetness. Trapped in the mist of wintry storms, I was frozen by slabs of ice until you came, immersed in the fire of love, turning the chill of my heart into a vintage sweetness. Now I know I cannot live without you, and just as the sun and rain replenish the earth, so too your care and concern have illumined the ancient caverns of my heart. Every moment without you feels like a thorn in my being, yet I'm so privileged to experience the redolence of your beauty, like unfurling tulips, manifesting your concern for me 24/7 in such an affectionate way that my spirit responds with ceaseless joy. I hear the sterling voice of the nightingale at dawn, watch with pride the unfurling of orchids in spring. Daybreak and Solomon all sing to me of enduring love, even as we kiss to the symphony of the breeze, and my soul emits the resonance of your enchanting melodies. So here I am, frolicking in a meadow of beauty. The flowers are fresh and glistening in the prana of life, magnificent in their holiness. The breeze carries the echoes of bird songs to my spirit. I'm in a citadel of enchantment, mingling in the merriment of light zephyrs with you singing and dancing, whispering bewitching melodies to my heart in the radiance of its delight. Today the roses blush, even as jasmines, tulips, and lavenders unite to celebrate love. I cup my hands in prayer, entreating to the perennial heavens. The vast skies open and hug my cheeks with the indigo blue. Sweet, sweetest, sweetest is your majesty, making mellifluous honey pale into insignificance. My storms have abated, my regrets erased, the inner noises grow dim, and my doubts have all subsided. My desires have blended into the letting go of all things mundane, and I rejoice in the effulgent light of my beloved's garden, banqueting with lovers. For eons I sought for this golden El Dorado, where all weary mariners take rest. I was a wayfarer, crawling on a sharp razor's edge along the steep, slippery slopes of evolution, moving forwards with longing towards the throne of my Habibi. Now I'm finally home, and the darkness is gone forever. My soul throbs and holds your gaze as you kiss me, my heart trembling in the bewilderment of a joyful sweetness. I taste your celestial wine, bask in a red river of supernal love. Lantern Carrier, thank you.
That was sublime and lyrical and oh, so well done. So well done. Thank you. Your spirit is abounds. Thank you. Is Prosperity Rich here? Richard Spisak.
Thank you, dear Amy, and thank you all, dear poets, for making this a more beautiful world with the truth that you dare to bring us. How marvelous. How absolutely marvelous. I have two little pieces for you. First, I want to talk of love, and then I'll talk a little politics. So here we go. This is called, and I'm in love with so many of you. It's just amazing how beautiful you are and what you bring. This is called Aphrodite on the Internet Half Shell. Partially emerged from the tiny text carving a mind illumined. Sweet thoughts, like berries on a hot summer afternoon, pressed to my mind's lips, staining in joy and wonder. Tiny characters bearing such weighted thoughts. Can I caress the brain who hears these electron-ferried carings? Can I touch the fingertip with his typing as these words land gently in your mind, floating like Monet's lilies on our newness? Rippling words, do this small service. Press your cool hand to her brow, trace her chin with this line, rest soft like feathers stroke her hand, where mine might, were distance and time less real, or thought like lightning beyond space. And time I spend in your mind and I in yours, such atomic beginnings in the rumble of electronic typing's thunder. Aphrodite on the Internet Half Shell. And now, dear writers, I talk to you about censorship. This is called Governor DeSantis Seems Confused. Governor DeSantis seems confused. He seems to think there are no rules. He thinks somehow he's the policeman and can stomp on people. He's no nice man. He's at war with woke, at least so he says. We know he's shouting loud enough to wake the dead. He says he's concerned that sensitivity burns and he would end all projects. The effects would be tragic. Discussions of race are all out of place. Sexual issues tear the tissue. Individual Freedoms Act called Stop Woke. Governor DeSantis, as a Harvard man, how's it feel to enjoy so much redneck appeal? Florida teachers are told that certain expressions are too bold. Never teach that there was hate, or be certain you'll be shown the gate. And gender equity in this land is surely the way it's always been. Teachers are allowed a full range of expression, of course, unless the gov takes exception. The gov don't woke ideology. It ruffles his prejudicial psychology. Don't say gay. Don't even say straight. You may be waiting 9 months for birth control. Just wait. They say DeSanctimus wants to dance at the Potomac Waltz if given a chance, and have outdoed 12 kinds of crazy, but it seems so far he might. He's not lazy. His diatribes against liberals are fun, and while he might just strap on a gun and all the migrants just go away, as our brother on the res might say, and wish us away. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, my
Those were
brothers and sisters. Thank you.
lovely, powerful. Thank you.
Thank you. My honor.
Ours as well. Thank you. Now we have Clive Oseman.
Hello. Right.
Hello.
Freak. That's always the challenge. Right. Okay. So I haven't written anything new. So some of you here will have heard this, although I haven't done it here because it wasn't written at the time of the last Gestalt. So apologies for those who have heard it, but you're going to have to suffer it again. And just to clear up one thing in the poem, for those who don't know, Jacob Rees-Mogg, who gets an honorary mention in this poem, is a British politician who is a horrible, nasty, right-wing twat, who looks, sounds, dresses, and is generally, basically, the caricature of a Dickensian rich toff. He really is a horrible piece of work. So he gets a mention in here. So don't feel too sorry for him because he deserves. I mean because you know it's fiction. Right. So this is called Unfinished Business. And I've been trying so hard to write something sensible, something that doesn't make everyone think I should be in a straitjacket, but nothing will come. I would stare at a blank page, but I might as well ask the paper to write the words itself for all the inspiration that's occurred. For some reason, all I could think about was boiled eggs. Boiled eggs? Boiled eggs? Yeah, I know, right? It doesn't make any sense. Though, I suppose if I were an egg, I might get laid. I should try it sometime. Anyway, I went to a well-known medium to ask them to contact a famous dead poet to give me some advice. When I walked in, the first thing they said was, "Boiled eggs!" And then they laughed. I found that disconcerting. I ended up paying a small fortune to have Shakespeare tell me to fuck off and stop disturbing him. But the words didn't sound very Shakespearean, and I think I was ripped off. I think it was William McGonagall. I just wish the medium had been honest with me. I don't like dishonest mediums. So I'm afraid you're stuck with my usual rubbish. And I went to the pub last night. I don't know what they put in my drink, but on the way home, I saw an octopus fight in the middle of the high street. Arms flailing in all directions there were, with a hippo dressed as Elton John singing Saturday Night's All Right for Fighting, and the pile of haunted horse manure on the piano, which made Liberace's fingers smell. But that wasn't the end of it. I called the police, and as I walked away, a Lego Lennox Lewis policeman climbed out of a drainpipe and tasered everyone with a strawberry. Then he pulled this book of poems out of his ear and told everyone they needed to be at Gestalt Poetry to hear Generalissimo. And that was the only bit of the whole thing that made any sense. I couldn't convince him that I was going, and he reached for his truncheon, which was 8 foot long and as hard as Margaret Thatcher's heart. So I scarpered sharply. I ran away in Usain Bolt's magic trainers and nearly tripped over a paper time machine, which then took me back to Victorian England, where I found Jacob Rees-Mogg being mangled by a cement mixer. It took him by surprise because they hadn't actually been invented then, And that's the beauty of the time machine. History was rewritten, and I had invented the cement mixer and mangled Jacob Rees-Mogg. I was really disappointed when I woke up. I'm going to the pub again tonight. I have unfinished business. Thank you very much.
I love that one. That one's great. That's a great story. And I love how it trips into magic realism. And you get to play with that. That's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we have Joy Johnson.
I have to follow Clive. That's just hopeless. Come on. Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah. Well, anyway, here we go. I have a couple of short ones and then a little bit longer one. I hope that's okay. The first one is called Starts. Maybe some of you read this on the Facebook page, but here I'm going to read it. Inexorably, as the seed must sprout when spring comes, I found myself convinced that I would play bass. No other agenda, just learn songs because they were there to be learned and loudly voiced. I told my teacher my plan to be a writer. She withheld the soil and light and water, as did my mother, from both endeavors. What for? Not like that. And surely there are bits of me still gnarled, still stunted, struggling towards the rill, but after that bad breakup, I learned all how poetry is to be consumed voraciously and naturally, tentatively pushed pen across pages. And here we are, exploring the universal tendency, probing your demiurge, the heart that elbows its way through the dirt. And that one goes to Generalissimo and his onion skin covered heart. This next one is called Kim. And it's pretty inscrutable. So I don't know, just try to maybe enjoy it or something. There he stood, delineated beautifully. Time had passed for us, a map of the Indus apart, and he was, and the valley was, glad to meet, and I could clearly unearth, explain the glittering path he'd never left, never had perished, that from all the globe was somebody else. Her gold migrated, was a nobody from that ancient land, and had remained outward to be whisked to where every speck, to where he'd been precious metal, whole, living a life we'd never found, or a life without us undiscovered. And when I woke, came to, rested, to bless, I had to call our brother, us with the soft gold news, with the smoothest luster. And then I just wanted to do one that's an unfinished poem called Civil Resistance, but in recognition of this anniversary of this weekend of the Ukraine war, I want to go ahead and read this one. Part one. There's supposed to be at least 3 parts. I only have 2 parts written. It's unfinished. I don't know. Anyway, here we go. Part 1. Does the atom understand the detonation? Okay. The grandmothers gather in the square to chant. Soon the grandchildren will gather too, singing too. Does the father understand the gun in his hand? That the gun is made up of atoms dancing? The grandmothers can chant, they can no longer fight. The grandfathers who survived will come soon too. Many grandfathers have been lost to war too soon. The dancing atoms dance through and through us all. The earth is alive with dancing atoms, hey? The grandmothers, grandchildren, grandfathers dance. The cats and dogs and elephants dance with the earth. The earth knows all about dancing and singing. The way we are made is not for war making. Part 2. In praise of all the resistors, I sing. I wish to lift my life into that fabulous parade. Please understand, as each one stands before the armaments, before the governments, facing those who make war, sell war, celebrate war. I conceive of a new history written around the peaceful, the civilian of the kingdom. Let the sacrifices of the resistors make a music to resonate around the world and into hearts of now and future. I rejoice in the resistance. All accolades too for those who fortify the keenness, standing on the corner, waving a flag, at the armory, painting red, at the front line, craving an end. Thank you.
Amazing. It was so good. Thank you. Thank you so much. That was so good. Just, I'm out of words. It's so amazing. So good. Thank you. Is Cherie Grissom here?
Yes, how you doing? How's everyone?
Fine. How are you?
I'm good. Can y'all hear me okay?
Yes.
I have two if possible.
Sure.
And I would love some feedback because this is the second time I've done an open mic type of thing. The first one I done at a in a coffee shop, and then this is the second one. So here goes. The first one is called The Pour. It is designed to fill one's spiritual cup. It is meant to help us to develop and grow. It provides knowledge and wisdom. It empowers and equips one's gifting. The pour encourages and enlightening. It's free-flowing. It's refreshing and replenishing. It speaks life, gives life, and it's abundant. The pour usually happens before the outpouring on the people. Oh God, how we thank you for the pour in this hour. That is the first one. The second one is called Run. I am releasing you to run in this season, to run with purpose, passion, and to create something marvelous. Run with the strength of heart. Do it with conviction and no condemnation. Run with me in mind at all times, for I am the Lord your God. Keep pursuing after me. Keep running the race, knowing that your true journey is just beginning. Run, don't look back, because the things that remain are not a part of the future that you're about to gain. So run with a clear conscience. Run, I say. Run with purpose, passion, and a pursuit of heart. Run. That's it.
Wonderful. Thank you. Those are awesome. I like the perspectives that you have. And there was something else I was going to say, but it's gone. But that was amazing. Thank you. That was amazing. We have Nemo Sum next. Are you here?
Yeah, I'm here. Thank
okay,
you.
Cool. Thanks.
Such amazing poetry. Thank you so much. It's great to be here. I have a micro triptych, which is 3 thematically connected micro poems that I have to do for you. My mind palace is a labyrinth of my own devising. Halls of neurons twist away into the darkness in all directions from where I stand. So perfect was my design that I cannot escape, and those brave souls who come looking for me become hopelessly lost. There's something in here that feeds on flesh. I can see its horns in the mirror sometimes, and I'm never far from its hot and wretched breath. Perhaps I built the maze to hold the monster. I know the ascent all too well. Slopes painted with my spent blood, scattered with the shredded banners of past rallies. It's my heart's deepest desire to get to the top of the hill, but there's this boulder, and it is with me wherever I go. Pushing the great rock upwards has carved grooves in the dirt. Sometimes I follow them. Sometimes I make new ones. And sometimes I want to change the path, but the boulder gets stuck in the ruts. I find myself having to repeat a route I know will end in failure. and I'll watch the boulder roll back down, crushing everything beneath it, bringing me back to the base, looking up, feeling broken. I've gotten to the top before, but the last time I found a wicked man whose face I've seen in the mirror. So I pushed him, and I felt him fall, and I dreamt that my world was tumbling, and I woke at the bottom, feeling scared. This time, I'm keeping my head down, staying focused on the work. I can feel the weight of the burden shifting as my will grows stronger and the climb begins again. I can't be nobody forever. I can't find the light while I'm hiding, living in the crater of my once upon a time. Thank you.
Fierce. Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Absolutely. It's wonderful.
Oh, good. Now, is there anyone, Greg Slade, would you like to read?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Okay, cool.
This is called Vision Without Eyes. My life mostly makes sense, yet I find myself interested in the things that don't, the things I could never reconcile. I've almost never thrown anything away, kept every scrap and every broken note, crumpled pieces of things I once meant to say. Even all that makes a lot of sense to me. What gets to me, well, it's the mysteries that remain, unspoken, unwritten, unfinished, unresolved, and unknown, until they are unforgotten again. You never think of the things that trouble you much, the mystery you couldn't solve, the things you never knew to think of, the love that grew unresolved. I think everyone has their mysteries that they never think of at all. Everyone has seen something they can't explain, some moment of magic from another world, perhaps even felt some power in themselves or saw some fortune that later unfurled, something that it would seem just couldn't quite simply have been. And I want to know what it is that you've seen. I want you to show me your mysteries. You show me yours and I'll show you mine. Is that the way it should be? Or we can do it the other way around. Here's a little bit of the mystery of me. I've seen the future a couple times, but I feel it quite a lot. I saw a ship that filled the sky, but didn't make a sound and barely gave it another thought. I spent 6 hours one night, somehow just lying on the cold ground, questioning my perception. I had an experience once where after I knew things I had never learned, tapping into a mind more like perfection, understanding so quickly so many things I never before could discern. It felt as if I was talking to someone else, not in words, not like hearing a voice, but a conversation of thought. If it weren't for the knowledge and understanding I seemed to gain, I would have presumed it to be all in my head. If I didn't know better, I wouldn't even believe myself in half the words that I've said. I've considered since that perhaps it was only me. It just seemed like someone else. Never been one who was dying to believe, but I was in touch with some kind of supreme being or some higher version of myself. In a moment, I spoke and heard and saw, but not with any word or vision. More like a very intense version of a massive premonition. Whatever it was all I could take. Of the change in my own cognition, the truth can be hard to handle. It felt like it left me for my own sake, though it could have destroyed or controlled me. Sounds like a frightening thing to say, but I don't need anyone to comfort or console me. I was the furthest thing from afraid. The feeling of peace was holy. I felt my fears all melt away, all anger and doubt disbanded. Confusion seemed to be a confusing thing. It was as if I was being weighed, but not reprimanded, not judged, but understood. If those thoughts had a voice, they would sing. That much I am perfectly sure of. I never trusted anything so much as I did whatever was possessing me at the time. The understanding possessed my whole mind, and my words all came out in rhymes. This happened for days at a time after the moment described, and now a year has gone by and I am still here burning through the paper and ink, marking my life as before and after an event I can't even describe, leaving me to wonder what mysteries everyone else is holding inside, and whether anyone else has seen the vision I saw without eyes.
Oh my God, that was so good. That was so good. It was such a journey and story, and it was all woven. It was wonderful. Thank you.
May I say something?
Yes.
Amy? I want to say that this is another reason that I miss my weekly dose of Nashville and Poetry in the Brew. So.
Good to see you, Mr. Franco.
Good to see you, Slade. I miss your cadence and your wisdom and your poetry. So
Very wise. I agree. Now we have Serene Poems.
Hi, thank you for letting me read.
Oh, sure.
I'm gonna put the poem in the chat too. So give me 1 second to do that. Sorry about that. You can hear me now. Okay. Writer's block beckons at night with blank notion. Sorry, let me start over. Writer's block beckons at night with blank notion. Elements fire bright on unconscious levels. Weak like fading lights plagued by commotion. Elevated thoughts on heights of social rebels. Oh, hold on, I'm so sorry. My font is cutting off. Threatening theories aloft with differing scales. Policies and rules scoffed and succinctly doused. Secrecy utmost cost. Tight lines equal no fails. False rhetoric accost masses until ousted. The higher they climb, the harder they all fall. Ignore ethical rhyme, ending in ignorance. Buying corrupt time along slow penance crawl. Despondently breeding crime. Disturbed dissonance. Thank you.
Yes, yes. Thank you. That was so good. I just so terse. There are no unneeded words in that poem. That is so good. Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? Raw, would you like to read, or are you okay?
Only if you have time.
I do. We do, I guess.
It's been a while since I've shared. It's good to see everyone. I've got two pieces. Okay. I'm in a dream, fighting my broken-hearted self as ego tries to make sense of itself hiding in the corner. I peel through a cocoon of experiences yet realized, looking to discard unwanted pains. Out of the contradiction, I hear all things, not one thing. Zigzagging the constant conflict of my inner self, I navigate the lenses of stereotypes and hypocrisy of this broken-hearted walk. I am the main character, the central ingredient in the active sensory of my senses. Time is the reaper flinging the arrows of life that opens the scars to where the light of wisdom can shine. In the eye of my storm, I wrestle with the polarized thoughts that act as judge and jury, intervening in the irrational insanity of my sanity. I am the expression of unknown perceptions that finds me in a blink, crashing upon the shores of my nomadic soul. Confused in stubbornness, I fight through the dark matter that swarms the madness as I succumb to gravity, falling through the empty vastness of quiet. In a painted landscape of possibility, I play hide and seek with love and fear in the streams of space at odds with itself. The past, present, and future me flows like a river, flooding my dreams with rainbows that serenade paraded clouds with arcing smiles that spotlight the anchors of its own duality. I'm in a dream, trapped in a storm of thoughts, clinging to the strings of perception that is neither near nor far. All that I am is resilient, for no temple or writing defines my compassion. My broken-hearted walk is nestled warmly in the embrace of discomfort and gratitude for the beauty of all my experiences. My every breath, a reconciliation with choices made, thus taking me closer to everything and nothing of my warrior soul. I am my broken-hearted walk. End of piece. And I'll end with this last piece called A Prayer of Gratitude. From the depths of the fire within, starburst memories form my being. A planted seed in the garden of dark, my bones hold the secrets of the light. Patient, the wings that worship time, every breath reveals my soul's purpose. The veil lifted to expose joy in the round, as redemption smiles, a prayer of gratitude. Reality springs forth from the sea of virtue. Change is wise to its own constant divine nature. Salvation ripples the waters of forgiveness in the inspired silence of love's moonlight. End of piece. Blessings and thank you, poets.
Beautiful, luminous journey, spiritual journey, and the personification of the ego and it was amazing. Amazing, thank you. Now we have Mista Fun.
Hello, all.
Welcome.
Let's see. So I have this contrapuntal poem that I want to share. Let's see how it goes. So the left side. Fidem meam obligo, vexilo civitatium America, federatarum et rei publica, proquastat uninationi, deudicente, non dividenda, cum libertate, justitiaque omnibus. The right side. If I told you I was trained to use my tongue this way, would you question my allegiance? Would you insurrection me, Toby, in the name of the Republic? State your condemnation. Burn my God in the name of white fear. Divided, a levy of short sleeves, you bear arms and get liberty. We hurricane unpredicted hashtags. Tell me why this country only sees Black as a synonym for terror and justice, a homonym meaning murder the innocent. We carry riots under our throats. The story stays the same. It's not all just a few bad apples. Until the lion learns to write, the hunter will always be glorified. That's all. Now together. If I told you I was trained to use my tongue this way, fidem meam obligo, would you question my allegiance? Vexilo civitatium America. Would you insurrection me, Toby, in the name of the Republic? Federatarum et rei publica. State your condemnation. Proquastat uninationi. Burn my God in the name of white fear. Deo ducente. Divided, a levy of short sleeves, non dividenda. You bear arms and get liberty. We hurricane unpredicted hashtags. Cum libertate. Tell me why this country only sees Black as a synonym for terror and justice, a homonym meaning murder the innocent, justitiaque. We carry riots under our throats. The story stays the same. It's not all just a few bad apples until the lion learns to write. The hunter will always be glorified omnibus. That's all. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, that was beyond, that was so good. Thank you. That was so good.
Oh,
Thank
may
you
I
for
say,
being here. Yeah, sure.
I want to say something that on every Sunday there is an amazing open mic called Java Speaks, and Mista Fun runs a small workshop at the beginning every Sunday at 7:30. Then at 8 o'clock, the legend Teresa Davis takes over as host of the open mic. But everyone should look up Java Speaks on Facebook and sign up on the Eventbrite page so that they can get the link to come to Java Speaks. It's an amazing, wonderful, familial atmosphere that no one should do without in their lives.
Sounds good.
And his workshops are second to none.
That sounds awesome. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Would anyone else like to read? Okay, I've got a couple.
How about Amy? Let
Yes,
Amy read.
me. It's me. Okay, this one's called Bird Note, and it's from Clyde Watkins and Co. Anthology called Feathers. And so this is one that I wrote in the late 80s. Bird Note. Breath halted girl walks for the noise to repeat itself. Its foreign self. It is the sound. It is the sound of a bird she does not know by name but dream, releasing her hold on memory time, not so distant from her dream hearing, like a yesterday mouth, close and cringing, near, called or sang or spoke in foreign note to her it did, into a blue-spangled monastery circus, long-faced stranger dream. From the tip, from on top of his bleeding crowned fallen head, it cried music triumph and piercing truth with orange open flame beak, and saw her with one bead ball god moon eye and one eye's sapphire blue, sweet smiling at her. She to remember wonder, which eye reflected her with face upturned, and which eye saw her, spoke her name at once in silence, one drop of blood sound, called her, and in the dream she follows, cannot answer. Thank you. This is one that I wrote also in the 80s, right? I was in I-85 and I saw this wonderful sky and it had just rained. So I wrote a poem like as soon as I got home. For once. Turning onto the interstate, the overwhelming, dispersing, reveling, quiet sky. Summer shower has spent itself onto the growing highway, and fragrant gray cloud feathers, air sucked and rent, float, move without an imposed speed limit or engine full of dinosaurs, but flowing, shining white streaks, burst, ribbons, silver, white, blue, and blue for a few moments without the hot haze of a hovering, drought-stricken summer. Pollution in a dingy brown band above it, changing realms of space, and for once, the freshly wet highway mirrors magnificence, reflects the atmosphere triumphant, simply there. Headless praying mantis-like forms of steel holding wires in a frozen parade. How we love to imitate, pretend to evolve above and away from what we destroy. In the distance, coming the other way on the opposite side of a dirty beige concrete divider, automobiles roll in each other's wet and steam like disciplined metal pigs. The pollution rising light brown above it, a grove of trees. Chattahoochee receives a rhythmic sky. Somewhere children stop their gaming to gaze and dream and see shapes they cannot create. But I don't know where they are or when or why they survive inside of me with other rhythmic eyes. Rushed hour, resume safe speed. Don't look at the sky. Look where you're going. I have one more. I have two more, but I'm gonna only read one more because I don't want to take too much time. This is one I just wrote on Thursday. It had kind of been forming before that, but I went to a Carter Center webinar called Faith Forward, Democracy. And it was, I wrote 2 pages of notes. It was mind blowing. It was so good. So this comes from that experience. 1, because you see a flower, it changes your day. To make a sacred space, you don't need money. The earth is sacred as the heavens, you and me. The body is a temple, your heart a flowing flower. Reality is milky relative to your experience, your perception. Please come sit with me and just be. Tell me from the heart, your story, what shaped your life up to now. 2, is it poverty of the spirit that causes you to destroy what is good? You're jealous of goodness. Goodness grows, thrives despite attempts at eradication. We're all born with it, but hatred is learned. Everyone deserves genuine love, unconditional, respectful. Everyone deserves a life that gives them joy. And ye harm none, do what ye will. Blessed be, all beings are worthy of love. All the angels came, all the demons. Pandora's box split asunder irreparably. It only seems like the end of the world in this epic battle for our souls, our shared future. 3, phone calls come in that I don't answer. Australia, Afghanistan, Malaysia, peace. Please leave a message. Things are happening at such a rate it becomes difficult to describe the times. What bardo of bardos is this? When mythology fails, the fight for vision is brutal. Reality is not a movable feast. What do we replace old mythology with? Respect, but new thinking for new times? 2023 seems too far into the millennium to be defending old ways of thinking, unless your old thought be eternal. Grace, kindness from the heart. Do justice, do kindness, be humble. Faith deserves a reality check. All people deserve human rights. Faith forward democracy. New faith meets old faith. To love is to resolve this. Anything is possible. Why not choose progress over destruction? You can't escape the news if you're a statistic. Neither can your children, your children's children. And that's all I have to say. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Oh my gosh, you guys, I've got chills again. Thank you. Thank you so much, Generalissimo Bryan Franco, being our featured poet today. Thank you so much.
Thank you for this wonderful space, Amy.
You're so welcome.